This one is a horrible and tragic story. The heroic reporter in Gaza, Y.L. Al-Dado, who was our dissident of the year over at Due Dissidents in our year-end roundup, has lost his last son after losing already most of his family. Al Jazeera bureau chief's son, Hamza al-Dado, among journalists killed in Gaza. This is him with his son there. The eldest son of Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief has been killed in an Israeli strike in southern Gaza. Hamza al-Dado, an Al Jazeera network journalist and cameraman, was driving in a car with other journalists along a road between Khan Yunis and Rafah on Sunday when it was hit. 4 other members of Bureau Chief Wael al-Dado's family have been killed. His wife, Amna, his grandchild, Adam, his 15-year-old son, Mahmoud, and 7-year-old daughter, Sham, were killed in an Israeli strike in Nuseirat refugee camp in October. Now, keep in mind, this was supposed to be safe. He sent his family to where the Israeli government had said to send your people to be safe, and they bombed them. According to Al Jazeera correspondent Hisham Zokat, Hamza al-Dado, my apologies, and a group of journalists were en route to the Mirage area northeast of Rafah, which was designated a humanitarian zone by the Israeli army, but which had reportedly experienced recent bombings. So you understand, this is another region that was supposed to be safe.
Is this what Wolf Blitzer that broke his heart when the guy they bombed that refugee camp to get one guy, and Wolf Blitzer he couldn't believe they blew up 40.
No, that was I believe that was a different case.
That was a refugee camp though.
Yes,
that was the Jabalia camp.
Yes, that was a different case. Many displaced Gazans had fled to the area to escape the bombardment in other regions of the territory. Hamza had intended to report on the unfolding situation and the aftermath of the bombings in the area, according to Al Jazeera. In a statement to the BBC, the Israel Defense Forces said an IDF aircraft identified and struck a terrorist who operated an aircraft that posed a threat to IDF troops. We are aware of the reports that during the strike, 2 other suspects who were in the same vehicle as the terrorist were also hit. Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on that.
Which one was supposed to be the terrorist? And
this is they assassinate journalists. They deny it. There have been investigations showing that they intentionally murdered journalists, but they never take responsibility. Live footage from Al Jazeera showed the aftermath of the strike on the car they had been traveling in. It also showed his father, Y.L. al-Dado, in tears, holding his hand and standing next to his body in a morgue in Khan Yunis. He was buried in the southern city of Rafah. Hamza was not just part of me, he was the whole of me. He was the soul of my soul. These are tears of sadness, of loss. These are tears of humanity, his father said at the funeral. I call on the world to look closely at what's happening in Gaza. Y.L. al-Dado was himself wounded, and his cameraman Samer Abu Daka was killed in a separate strike while filming last month. Hamza al-Dado had 1 million followers on Instagram. His final post before he was killed was about his father. You are steadfast and patient. Do not despair of God's mercy. Be certain that he will reward you, he said. The Al Jazeera media network said in a statement that it strongly condemns the Israeli occupation forces' targeting of Palestinian journalist Carr. The assassination of Mustafa and Hamza, whilst they were on their way to carry out their duty in the Gaza Strip, reaffirms the need to take immediate necessary legal measures against the occupation forces to ensure that there is no impunity, it added. It also alleged that the strike, quote, confirms without a doubt the Israeli forces' determination to continue these brutal attacks against journalists and their families, aiming to discourage them from performing their mission, violating the principles of freedom of the press, and undermines the right to life. Mark Regev, the Israeli Renfield, a senior advisor to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, told the BBC's World This Weekend that Israel does not deliberately target journalists.
It's just lucky, that's all.
They're just lucky at cards. More than 75 journalists have been killed since the war in Gaza started.
You know, I don't want to hear about Putin as mean to journalists ever the fuck again after this.
It's actually over 100 by now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So here's a tweet. Hero and journalist while Dado speaks after his son's burial. And this is, I will warn you, this is very heart-wrenching. The courage of this man is something that very few of us could even imagine. He's still out there. He has lost his whole family, and he is still out there covering these crimes of the Israeli state. There is nothing more difficult than the pain of loss. I'll read the subtitles. And when you experience these pains again and again, things become more difficult and more severe. But what can we say? God, Allah, is sufficient for us. This is our choice, our destiny. And we must be satisfied with it no matter what. We hope that God will be pleased with us and make us among the patient ones. This is the destiny of choice. All the people on this earth, as you see, crowds upon thousands of people, yearning for their loved ones and the souls of their heart, every day, every hour, and every moment. We are worse than all people. We say goodbye. Our Lord, glory be to him, will connect our hearts and the hearts of all people and provide us with the means of patience and strength. For Hamza and all the martyrs, we say that we are committed to the covenant. This means that this is a path that we chose voluntarily. We gave it a lot and watered it as is clear with blood, because this is our destiny. And we are continuing. This is a great challenge. It is true that a person grieves, suffers, and is in a lot of pain. As we said, there is nothing more difficult than pain and the pain of loss. So what then? The loss of the firstborn. So I gave birth to Hamza, the liver. Hamza was not just a part of me. He was the soul of my soul. So that is just, what can you say? My fear is that he himself is not going to be with us for very long. I hope I'm wrong about that.
You know, I just watched a veteran of the USS Liberty, which I never heard of that for many years. The American ship that Israel attacked. And, you know, when I first heard about it, like, oh, it was a mistake. They thought it was something. No, they're trying to draw us into war. And the veteran from that ship said they could tell, they knew exactly who they were shooting at. Mm-hmm. And luckily, the reason they survived is because they were from Israel's Navy and not their Air Force. Their Air Force was kind of good.
Right.
Their Navy sucked. And that's the only reason they were alive.
Right. You have anything to add, Kate?
Yeah. I mean, the courage and the poise of this man is unbelievable, and the wisdom to be gleaned in those words. In particular, God is sufficient for us. This is our choice, our destiny, and we must be satisfied with it no matter what. We must be satisfied with it no matter what. Imagine the poise it takes to say a thing like that, after having lost your entire family. Because don't forget, when you talk about the people of Gaza, you're talking about people who were born with the worst hand you could possibly be born with, right? I mean, they were dealt the worst cards you could be dealt as a human being on earth. You are born into a concentration camp that you are imprisoned in for your whole life. And to say we must be satisfied with it no matter what is to accept, hey, I am here to do this job, and I'm going to do this job until God tells me I can't do the job anymore, meaning until I'm taken off this earth. But by God, I'm not going to stop doing this job to get the word out about the suffering of my people so that somebody on this goddamn planet might do something about it. And to have the poise to just say, we have to be satisfied with this hand. We are willing to play the cards we were dealt. As horrible a hand as it is, we were put here to play it, and that's what we're going to do. And we're not going to complain about it. And we're not going to stop doing it because we feel pain and loss. We are here to do a thing, and this is what we're going to do until they fucking kill us. And it's just incredible. I mean, what an incredible man.
So a man who is remarkable in a very different way, Anthony Blinken, had some words to say about this. So from Andre Damon of the World Socialist website, crocodile tears from Blinken the Butcher. Blinken just called the killing of the son of Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief an unimaginable tragedy. No, it's a crime, one that Blinken perpetrated. When asked directly, Blinken didn't condemn Israel's targeted murder of journalists.
I am deeply, deeply sorry. Targeted by the IDF, including our colleague, son of our colleague, Mahmoud. All
right, so for anyone who's not watching, going by the audio, so and I assume Arab journalist, I think an Al Jazeera journalist, brought up the murder of the son of Wael al-Dado.
Is the United States condemn?
Does the United States condemn targeting journalists?
I am deeply, deeply sorry.
But do you condemn it, Tony? Do you condemn it?
Almost unimaginable loss suffered by your colleague.
What?
I'm a parent myself.
Ah.
I can't begin to imagine the horror that he's experienced, not once, but now twice.
Oh, wouldn't it be nice if you were in a position to do something about this?
I know, Jesus Christ.
And the rest of his family was killed a few weeks ago, you piece of shit.
Yeah, no. If only you were in a position of power to exert pressure on the Israeli state to put an end to this genocide. If only you could do something about it. If only you had more power than a bunch of schmucks on a podcast.
As the real president of the United States, behind the scenes.
Yes,
as the man who puppets Biden around.
As the Grima Wormtongue of this White House. Yes. It's too bad you can't do anything about this.
This is unimaginable tragedy, and that's also been the case for, as I said, far too many innocent Palestinian men, women, and children.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Boy, I really feel bad about paying for all that.
No, he speaks like he's a bystander. He has nothing to do with it.
I know if I paid billions of dollars to have my family killed, I would feel really bad about it. If that money were going towards that I make sure it gets to killing your family.
So we have Caitlin Johnstone here bringing the heat as always. Nothing epitomizes the depraved manipulations of the U.S. empire better than Anthony Blinken. There is no better representation of that empire than Tony standing there on his mountain of corpses covered in blood, telling you how sorry he is to learn of the unfortunate accidental deaths of the people he just murdered, staring at you with his cold, dead eyes, playing remarkably soulless blues guitar under the light of a bright red moon. Yeah, bringing it. Caitlin bringing it.
I love that will you condemn question. That's a very popular question around these parts. It was interesting to watch him not condemn it.
You have anything, Keaton?
These journalists in Gaza, they're just the bravest people in the world. I mean, I talked to firefighters after 9/11. I grew up around New York City, so I knew a couple of New York firefighter families. I knew a couple of families of firefighters who survived the day. I knew one who tragically didn't. And they said something along the lines of what I said earlier, running into that building They had a purpose. They felt it was their purpose to be there and pull as many people out of that building as they could. In that moment, there was really no fear. And I can't get inside the heads of these journalists, but I would imagine if I had to speculate, they take a similar attitude. We're here to do a job. We have to do this job. There's no one here to do it but us. This is our destiny to be here, and they do it until they can't do it anymore. So, yeah, I mean, the amount of courage is just unbelievable.
Well, contrast that with the amount of courage of that ex-Obama aide harassing falafel carts around the city.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's, weigh him out.
I mean, it's funny. You know, Matt Taibbi wrote an article that got a lot of play after Trump got elected, saying, you know, the reason the establishment hates him so much is he's ripped the ugly mask off the ugly reality of American empire. I think Joe Biden has done more to rip that mask off than Donald Trump ever dreamt of. How can you watch this? How can you know our complicity in it? How can you watch a bloodless freak like Anthony Blinken stand up there and you can see that he's trying his best to pretend to have empathy that he does not in fact possess? How can you look at that and come out the other side saying we're the good guys? How do you believe
exactly?
that
And the reason
this?
why Biden unmasks the brutalities of the empire more than Trump did is because Biden is just a non-entity. They don't have a human face to put on this. Trump, say what you will about Trump, he's his own man. He's a character. He puts a face on it. Obama could put a face on it. Bill Clinton could put a face on it. George W. Bush wasn't particularly good at it either. He was the closest thing to a non-entity that we've had. But Biden is just not even there.
Right.
He's not even there. So all you get is the Anthony Blinken perspective and the Jake Sullivan perspective. Oh, the only people we take seriously as actually being in charge are these underlings who, under normal circumstances, we don't get to see because Trump is at least a figurehead. Obama is at least a figurehead. Biden is such a zero that he doesn't even function as a figurehead. So all you see is the man behind the curtain, and man, is it ugly.
Come see us do a live stand-up show. We'll be in Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Boston, Massachusetts, and we're going to Europe. Do you live in Europe? We're going to be there. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.